Am I guilty for selling my Taylor Swift tickets after my girlfriend cheated? I'm 27 years old, and a few months back, won some money on stake and decided to surprise my girlfriend, 25, with Taylor Swift tickets for her Vancouver show. She's been a massive Swiftie since forever, and I knew this would mean the world to her. I spent around $800 for 2 really good seats. Last week, I discovered she'd been secretly meeting up with her work friend for months. I found out because she accidentally left her Instagram DMs open on my laptop. She'd been using it to print something, and I saw weeks of flirty messages and plans to meet up. When I confronted her, she tried to deny it at first, but eventually admitted they'd kissed several times and had been having an emotional affair. I was devastated. These tickets were meant to be a special experience for us, and I couldn't stomach the thought of taking her after this betrayal. Rather than let them go to waste, I decided to sell them. Given how insane the Taylor Swift ticket market is right now, I managed to sell them for $2,400, triple what I paid. When she found out I sold the tickets, she completely lost it. She's been blowing up my phone, calling me petty and cruel, saying I ruined her dream, and that the tickets were a gift so they belong to her. Her friends are also messaging me, saying I'm an awful person for using the tickets to hurt her. I feel like I had every right to sell tickets that I bought with my own money, especially after what she did. But she's making me feel like I took things too far. Am I guilty?
Am I guilty for treating my coworker differently after she accused me of SA when I saved her life? I'm a quiet guy and genuinely friendly. I treat all my coworkers as friends. About 2 months ago, during a work lunch, one of my coworkers started choking, so I did the Heimlich thing to help her. After she's in the clear, the others cheered. I asked if she all right. She just nodded and headed to the bathroom without a word, so I didn't think much about that. Until 2 days later, I got called into HR for my inappropriate behavior. I was confused and asked for more details. That's when they told me that my coworker had filed a complaint stating that she felt my crotch when I was helping her was inappropriate. My body was too close and she felt my private touching her. I gave my statement and they put me on ice. I was still working with potential to be removed, while they investigated further. After a week, I was in the clear. I returned to working normally without fear, but I started distancing myself from the coworker. She tried to apologize, which I accepted, and tried to explain that she has to tell me that she has trauma, but I still take precautions and only treat her as just a colleague. I no longer talk to her unless needed to, always keeping distance, no longer inviting her out unless there are others. She could feel my hesitation toward her and how I no longer treat her the same as others. She tried to say that I'm being ridiculous and petty, but I told her that I'm just looking after myself. So, am I guilty? P.S. Sorry about my English if there are errors. It's my third language. And my name on this forum is, I'm gay, deal with it. Edit. Wow, this blew up. I'm not very active here, but I have read several comments and DMs. Sorry I can't read all. Thanks for everyone's support. I won't make updates, but I have some clarifications. I'm not from or in any English-speaking countries. Me and the coworker did have a talk with our colleagues nearby, and she agreed to just limit our contacts that related to work. I won't sue her cause everything is resolved, and to be honest, it would just bring more problems while wasting money. I also received several DMs about people with similar experiences as me, which made me sad and relieved that I'm not the only one. And I also saw comments about how I'm not considering and don't understand her trauma, which is fair. If you're harassed for real, then you should protect yourself. But I just hope she came to me about her uncomfortableness since we've known each other for a couple years. That's it. Again, thank you.
Am I guilty for expecting to occasionally drive a car I help pay for, but my girlfriend says it's hers now? My girlfriend, 34 years old, and me, 36, have been together for 5 years. When she moved to my city 2 years ago, she needed a car. At the time, she was financially stable, making $100,000 a year and renting out a home she owns for extra income. But she still asked for my help affording the car. Wanting to support her, I put down $1,500 for the down payment and paid $400 a month toward a $525 car payment for 2 years, totaling over $10,000. While she used the car full-time, I had my own older car and didn't drive hers regularly. This year, she has fully taken over the payments. Now, since she's the only one paying for it, she has decided that I can't drive it at all anymore. Not even when she's away for 1 to 2 weeks at a time for work. Her reasoning? I'm paying for it now, so it's mine. I brought up that if the roles were reversed, I would still acknowledge her past contributions and allow her to use it occasionally. But she dismisses that and says she's just setting financial boundaries. For context, we also bought a house together last year, but it's only in her name, even though we split the mortgage 50-50ths. When we bought it, she told me, "This is my moment," which rubbed me the wrong way because I was equally contributing to the payments. This isn't just about the car. It feels like a bigger issue of financial fairness and control. She was fine accepting financial help when she needed it. But now that she's secure, she's acting like my contributions never happened. Am I guilty for thinking I should still have some access to a car I helped pay for? Or is she being selfish by rewriting history and making financial decisions that only benefit her? Edit. What should I do next? I told her I'm done with the relationship, and she's working out of town for 14 days straight. Am I guilty for telling my neglectful father's wife I don't care if her unborn kid's my father's? I don't owe her a thing. My father and his wife have a 25-year on and off relationship and marriage. My father had me, I'm 19 years old by the way, with someone else, and his wife had a daughter, 16-ish now, with someone else. At one time, the four of us lived together for about 4 years. I was neglected badly at that time and was eventually removed by CPS and placed with my aunts. They helped me get back on track after a really shitty time. My mother was an addict and wasn't any better, and the only reason I live with my father is because she OD'd and died. The wife's daughter wasn't really treated much better, but she was a little more, and she wasn't removed like I was. I had nothing more to do with them. But then a few weeks ago, his wife DM'd me on Facebook. My father's in jail, and she claims she's expecting his baby, and she needs me to help. She wanted me to move in and help pay bills and help with the baby and make sure she has support for her delivery. I ignored her and blocked the account, but then another account, which is clearly also hers, DM'd me and told me I was going to have a sibling and I should do something to make sure the baby's okay. I told her I didn't believe for 1 second the baby is his, but even if the kid is, I don't owe her a thing, and that I wasn't going to reply again. I blocked that account, and I didn't respond when more messages came from different accounts. But she's basically telling me I should care if the baby is his, and I should be a better man than him. To me, this kid, whether they're his or not, has nothing to do with me, and I'm not the father, so I feel like I have zero responsibility. But maybe I'm guilty for feeling that way and saying what I did. Am I guilty?
Am I guilty for kicking my sister out of my baby shower because she called me old and selfish? My sister is 31 years old and I'm 34. Got married around the same time 7 years ago. She decided to have kids right away. My husband, 35, and I decided to buy a house first, do a little traveling and have enough savings before having kids. My sister now has 4 kids. I'm currently pregnant with our baby. I have been dealing with hyperemesis gravidarum, HG, and it's been brutal. Luckily my mother-in-law and my husband have been amazing to me, and my boss allowed me to work from home until I give birth. My mom can't help me much because she helps out my sister's 4 kids a lot. Yesterday was my baby shower that my sister-in-law threw for me. People kept asking about how I was doing, and I was talking about how HG is horrible. My sister decided to interrupt me and said, "Honestly, this is what happens when you get pregnant when you are old. I have had 4 pregnancies and never had these issues. I guess you should have thought about this before all those trips, and we are not ready yet." Bullshit. Some of us made sacrifices in our 20s. Got furious. This wasn't the first time she commented about my life, so I told her to get the fuck out. She grabbed my nieces and left. My mom said I was being hormonal and should have just ignored her. My mom thinks my sister said that because she became a mom earlier than me and never enjoyed her life or even any alone time with her husband. My husband thinks I had every right to be upset because she was saying I deserve HG. Do I owe my sister an apology for kicking her out?
Am I guilty for exposing a family secret and making my mom cry? So I have a brother James and a sister-in-law, Maggie. They're pretty unhappy in their marriage, but stay together for the kids. They both have a very strained relationship with my parents, and as a result, my other sister's kids are very obviously favored. This hurts James's kids. The reason for this favoritism is an affair 19 years ago. My mom is pretty narcissistic, and it got to the point that all 3 of her kids are sick of it. When James married Maggie, my mom treated her like the daughter she never had. They were very playful in a kind of weird way. Like I remember one Christmas, Maggie got drunk and had a little cake fight with my mom and put the cake down her dress. I guess my dad always wanted a threesome and my mom said no. But one night when James and Maggie were staying with them, he went out and they were all drinking together. My mom and Maggie hooked up and my dad just watched. When James found out, it was a shit show, but my parents showed zero remorse. The only reason he didn't go no contact was family money. We recently had a family dinner, and James's kids were upset when they found out my parents were planning on taking the other grandkids to Aruba before the pandemic. I just couldn't take it anymore, so I told them the reason my parents don't see them more. Maggie ran off, my mom burst into tears, and my dad kicked me out of the house. Edited to add, the kids are 20, 17, and 15. So am I guilty?
Am I guilty for telling my boss that I wasn't invited to the party? I'm 26 years old and just started at a new job. I quickly realized that one of my colleagues, Marie, is engaged and is getting married within the next 2 months. It seemed like the whole office was attending the wedding. I absolutely did not expect an invite. She just met me, weddings are planned in advance, venues booked, etc. My friend actually just got married, so I saw firsthand how it all worked. I could tell Marie wondered if I was expecting an invitation and was hesitant to bring up the wedding around me. But I just never made it a big deal. I don't feel left out in the slightest. Then I got CC'd on an email from someone in the office, Joan, throwing Marie a shower during our lunch hour in the break room in a couple of weeks. Joan was sending out a collection so we could give a group gift cash to Marie. They also suggested we make it a potluck. Joan included her Venmo and also asked us to email back with what we planned on bringing. Even if I'm not going to the wedding, I still believe everyone deserves to be celebrated, and Venmo'd the $20, as well as sent a reply saying I'd bring lasagna. A little later, I saw the $20 had been returned to my Venmo, and Joan approached my desk. She said I didn't need to contribute. I said even if I'm not attending the wedding, I'd still like to give Marie a little something. Joan looked a little awkward and hemmed and hawed, but then eventually said, "You're not invited to the shower." I was confused. I said, "I can't go in the company break room on lunch hour?" She said yes. I asked where am I supposed to go. I don't drive, I take public transit from work. We don't really work near anywhere I could go to quickly for our lunch hour. She said I could stay at my desk. I pointed out this was a little exclusionary. Joan said Marie didn't want me to assume I was invited to the wedding. I said I don't at all. I completely understand I haven't worked here long and we're not close enough. I'm not hurt by that. She said that's great, but I still can't come. I asked if I had done anything to offend Marie and she said no. She just doesn't want me getting my hopes up. I finally let it go and just said fine, have a good party. The day of the shower, I sat at my desk during the party while everyone else went, eating my lunch alone. One kind person snuck me a piece of cake. Halfway through the party, the big boss came in. She usually doesn't work on Fridays, so it was a surprise to see her. She saw me sitting at my desk and asked why I wasn't at the party. I told her I hadn't been invited. She was clearly perturbed by this. Later on, she sent an email out banning parties of any kind during work hours. A few people, Joan and Marie included, realize I'm the one who told. They've now turned on me. Some friends say I'm in the wrong here and that I should have lied to the big boss and said I was busy with work to finish or something, so as not to ruin it for everyone else. Am I guilty? Don't assume kids have standard families. When I was in high school, we had these strict rules about not attending study after our regular classes, which made you have to get written consent from your parent and school principal to be allowed to leave early. I had a dentist appointment, and my mom wrote a note and I already got consent from the principal, so I only had to go show my note to the teacher who was supervising the study, so I wouldn't get in trouble for not attending. It was a new teacher who was probably just freshly graduated and clearly wanted to establish her authority, which was ridiculous in this case. I clearly had consent to not attending study. I showed her the note my mom wrote, with the approval of the principal, and she flat out told me with a smug face that she needed consent from my father as well. This was never a rule, FYI, so my answer was, "Sure, let's go to the cemetery to ask him." She looked horrified. Figuratively emasculating the neighborhood bully. Once by me, and again by my sister. My sister and I both got back at our neighborhood bully with the same story, about 10 years apart. When I was about 6, I proudly built a snowman all by myself. Clarence, the neighborhood bully, aged 10 to 11-ish, knocked it down and thought he was very cool for doing so. I went ballistic, whirling dervish, and kicked and clawed and had to be pulled off of him. He went home crying and avoided my brother, sister, and me after that. Fast forward 10 years. My sister and her friends are on a bus to a ball game downtown, and he gets on the same bus with his friends. He's all muscles and struts, and some of the girls kinda stop and stare. My sister says, "Oh, hi, Clarence," rather offhand, indifferently. One of her friends says, "You know him?" She says, straight-faced, stage-voiced, "Oh yeah, my little sister beat him up once." I love my sister. Am I guilty for making my coworker a separate meal after she insulted my cooking? I work in a small office where we do a potluck-style lunch once a week. I love cooking, so I usually bring something homemade. For context, I'm Thai, and a lot of what I make has strong flavors, think garlic, fermented fish sauce, chili, shrimp paste, that kind of thing. Most of my coworkers love it. Kate, though, has always been weird about it. She'd made little comments before like, "Wow, that's pungent," or "Your food is so intense." Once, when I brought in som tam, green papaya salad, she wrinkled her nose and said, "Ugh, why does it smell like that?" Like it smells like lime and chili. Sorry, it's not a turkey sandwich, Kate. The worst was when she asked me if I grew up eating bugs. I kind of laughed it off because I was so caught off guard, but she kept going, talking about how she saw a documentary about Thai people eating crickets and how it must be normal for me. I told her as evenly as I could that yes, some people eat insects, but it's not like I was raised munching on tarantulas for breakfast. She got all flustered and said she didn't mean it like that. Anyway, last month I made cow soy for the potluck, a northern Thai curry noodle soup. Everyone seemed to love it except Kate, who took one bite, made a face and said, "Oh, this is strong." Then she laughed like it was a joke, but she barely touched her bowl. Later, I overheard her telling someone it was too much spice and too many smells at once. So a few weeks later, when it was my turn to cook again, I made my usual dish plus a plain grilled chicken breast with some steamed veggies and a little cup of ranch dressing. No seasoning, no strong smells, etc. I left a note for Kate, since I know she prefers something simple. She was pissed. Said I was singling her out and making her look bad. I told her I was just trying to be accommodating, the way she seemed to want. Some coworkers thought it was hilarious. Others said I was being passive-aggressive. Honestly, maybe I was. Am I guilty?
Neighbor thinks my car is his personal Uber now because our work routes match. A few weeks ago, I finally bought a new car. Nothing too flashy, but it's a big deal for me because I've been saving up for a while. I got lucky from a slot win on stake of $9,000. Anyway, I was feeling good about it. One morning, I was driving to work and saw my neighbor walking down the street. We're friendly, but not super close, and I figure I'd be nice, so I pulled over and asked if he needed a lift. He happily accepted, and during the ride, we realized we work fairly close to each other. No big deal, right? Well, apparently, that one ride turned into an unspoken agreement. The next day, I saw him standing at the same spot, clearly waiting for me. I thought, all right, whatever, I'll give him another ride. But now it's been every single day since then. Rain or shine, he's there. No text, no asking, just standing there waiting. At first, I didn't mind too much, but now it's getting on my nerves. Some mornings, I just want to listen to music, zone out, or even stop for coffee without worrying about someone else's schedule. I even tried leaving earlier once, thinking he'd get the hint, but nope. Next day, he mentioned how he must have missed me. I don't want to be a jerk, but I never agreed to be his personal chauffeur. I was just trying to be nice once. Now I feel awkward bringing it up because I don't want to cause any weird tension with a neighbor. Would I be the bad guy if I just started running late or having meetings in the morning? Or should I straight up tell him I don't want to give him rides every day? Surgeon made fun of my beeness. I was 32 at the time, and I'm a big dude, 6 feet 6 inches and 250 pounds in drunk pirate units, and had to have surgery on my calves because of varicose veins. So the day of, I was told to get completely undressed and put on the generic open back gown, which due to my frame, made me look like Donald Duck, if you know what I mean. I was led to the operation room by a nurse and placed on a cold metal table. They administered some local anesthesia to my legs, and after about 10 minutes laying naked in a cold, brightly lit room waiting to be sliced up, the two doctors strolled in. I was very anxious, cold, and self-conscious, so I just stayed still.
Anesthesia was given, the patient is ready.
Doc 1 walks to the table and said,
Wow, big afer, and such a small pick.
Doc 2 was laughing out loud. Me, what?
Oh no, you have the wrong patient file. This one isn't the fully sedated one. He is awake.
Doc 1, silent. Doc 2, silent. Me, again, what? So yeah, nobody said another word to me for the rest of the operation, just 200 decibels of awkward silence while they ripped veins out of me. It felt like Ricky Gervais wrote this scene. I should have walked out, but I was too shocked to even think. When they were done, they exchanged quiet words with the nurse and quickly walked out. It was a bit shocking, but I quickly laughed it off. I mean, they weren't wrong. But man, some people. This was 10 years ago, and I am fine. Am I guilty for telling my dad's wife I don't care that he's cheated on her at least 10 times now? My dad cheated on my mom when I was 4, and I'm 16 now. The reason I know this is because my dad's affair partner, now wife, is a messy person, and not only is she willing to be the other woman, but she stayed with my dad even though he's cheated on her 10 times that she knows about. My sister, 19 years old, and I never liked dad's relationship with his wife, and we never respected or liked her as a person either. We don't even like him. The only reason I still see him is because a judge said I had to and threatened to make my mom pay money to the courts every time if I refused to see him. I don't want to do that to her. So I go to their house and try to stay out of the house as much as possible. When we were younger, this woman did try to be a second mom to me and my sister, and we disrespected her to her face every time she tried. Even when she and my dad had kids together, we didn't see her any differently. To us, she was always the person who was half the reason our parents' marriage ended, and dad was the other half. I know people don't like to blame the other woman, but she admitted she knew. When we were younger, the reason we knew so much about it is because this woman would break down and cry because mom wouldn't speak to her. And she went on rambling fits about how mom was being unfair, and she should understand that this woman and dad were soulmates. And yes, she knew dad was married, but they had to be together, and mom should be compassionate. She also had crying fits about us not liking her, and how we shouldn't judge people for sleeping with married men or women, because they're real people with real feelings, and nobody knows what it's like. A few weeks ago, she had another breakdown in front of me, and asked why I never supported her when another of dad's affairs was found out. She told me dad cheated while she was having her last kid, and I told her I know, and she cried even harder and asked why I never supported her, and did I know he cheated again last month. I told her I don't care. I said he's repulsive, but so is she. And I don't care if he cheats on her every day for the rest of their lives, because she's nothing to me. She broke down and tried to talk about all the times he cheated, and I told her that I don't care that it's been at least 10 times. She started yelling at me, and I walked away, but since that day, when my dad's week comes, she's whining whenever I'm nearby, and trying to talk me into treating her better, and complaining because my sister blocked her when she tried to talk to her, which came after my sister laughed at her while she was crying on the phone to her. Am I guilty?
Am I guilty for telling my sister not to announce her pregnancy at my wedding, because I was going to announce mine, but she did it anyway? I'm 29 and got married 3 months ago to my amazing husband. He's 31. It was supposed to be one of the happiest days of my life, but my sister, 32 female, managed to overshadow it in a way that I can't seem to move past. A little background. My husband and I had been trying for a baby for a while, and when we finally got that positive test, we were over the moon. We decided we would share the news with our family and friends at our wedding reception. Nothing crazy, just a small, heartfelt moment during the speeches. Only my parents and my maid of honor knew about this plan. A few weeks before the wedding, my sister pulled me aside to tell me she was pregnant. I was genuinely happy for her, and we had a sweet moment together. Then she casually mentioned that she was planning to announce it at my wedding. I was shocked and told her as kindly as I could that I would prefer she didn't. I even explained why, because I was also pregnant and planning to share the news that day. I asked if she could wait just a little longer so the day could stay focused on the wedding. She seemed a bit annoyed but didn't argue much, so I thought that was the end of it. Well, fast forward to the reception, and guess what? Right after the speeches, she stands up, clinks her glass, and announces her pregnancy. The whole room erupts in cheers, and suddenly, my wedding turns into her pregnancy celebration. I was stunned. I didn't even get the chance to share my own news because it felt like I'd just be trying to one-up her. Later, when I confronted her, she acted like I was overreacting and said she just couldn't keep it in anymore. When I told her how hurt I was, she said I was selfish for wanting to control when people share their happiness. My parents think she was out of line but are telling me to let it go for the sake of family peace. But I can't seem to move on. Every time I think about my wedding, I feel this bitter pit in my stomach because she took away a moment that was special for me. She, on the other hand, thinks I'm being dramatic and says I should be happy for her instead of making everything about myself. So, am I guilty for not letting this go?
Weight loss isn't always good. So I was reminded of an incident that happened late summer last year. I was going through a horrible breakup and burnout at the same time. It got so bad that I didn't eat for over a week and stopped taking care of myself entirely. Well, my friends and coworkers all got worried, so I went to see my doctor to sign off on a leave of absence from my work while I recovered. The nurse who was doing my intake was asking me all the usual questions about why I came in. I told her I had lost 40 pounds in a month, but before I could say why, she exclaimed, "That's great." I just looked her in the eyes with my dead inside stare and replied, "I haven't been able to eat in over a week." She gave me a meek apology and finished the rest of her questions as quickly as possible before fleeing the room. Woman demands I call police because of car in handicap spot. So today, I drove my mother to an appointment. We both qualify for handicap parking, and I do have handicap plates. I walked my mother into the office where she has an appointment, and there is almost no seating. So I tell her I'll wait outside since I don't need to be in the appointment with her. It is a really nice day, so I sit on a concrete retaining wall about 15 feet from my car and read on my phone. After about 20 minutes, I notice a woman about my age has pulled up behind my car and is just looking at it. After a couple of minutes, she spots me, comes over, and demands I let her use my phone. I asked her why, and she said her phone wasn't working and she wanted to report someone illegally using a handicap spot. I asked her where that car was, since you could see the little old chair on my plate from where we were, and there was no other handicap spot in view. She points at my car. I asked what made it an illegal park job, and her response was that was where she always parks. I told her that was my car, it wasn't moving until my passenger came out, and it was legally parked. She stomped off toward my car, so I started recording her. When she reared back to kick the car, I yelled out that she was on candid camera, and I had her plate number if she damaged the car and tried to run off. She got in her car and drove away. About 30 minutes later, a city cop came by and stopped. He looked at my car and then drove off. So I assumed she found a working phone somewhere.